All right, let's talk about something that sounds, well, impossible. We're going to look at a 120-year-old notebook. No apps, no algorithms, nothing, that somehow blows every single fancy budgeting tool out of the water. And it's the key to understanding a massive difference in how two of the world's biggest economies handle their money.
Just look at these numbers. They're kind of insane. In Japan, the average working household saves about 37% of their income. The average American? A mere 3.9%. Let me put that another way for you. For every $100 that comes in, the average American is saving less than 4 of them.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. This isn't just about different habits, it's about a completely different philosophy. It's like they're running a totally different operating system for how they think about, feel, and use their money.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's not that they're making way more money. Actually, their median income is lower than in the US. So what's the secret? Well, you might be surprised to hear it's not about being some superhumanly disciplined person. It's actually way simpler and a lot more powerful than you'd think.
So before we get to the fix, we really got to understand the problem. So let's picture a guy, we'll call him Ryan. Ryan makes a decent salary, he pays his bills on time, and yeah, he's got one of those budgeting apps on his phone. He opens it, sees his dining out categories through the roof, feels a little guilty, and then, he orders delivery anyway. By the end of the month, he's just scratching his head, wondering where all that money he was planning to save just disappeared.
See, here's the absolute key. Ryan's problem isn't that he lacks willpower, it's that his tools are fundamentally flawed. All those modern budgeting apps, they're designed to record his behavior, not to change it. They're just creating this perfectly organized, beautifully charted archive of his financial regrets. They give you all this data, but data by itself doesn't change what we do.
And that brings us to the heart of the Japanese approach. It doesn't start with a tool or an app. It starts with a feeling, a philosophy that's really built on 2 core ideas that have been part of the culture for centuries. Let's break them down.
First up, there's this word that doesn't really have a perfect English translation, mottainai. It's this 800-year-old Buddhist concept, and it's all about feeling this deep, genuine regret when something's potential value isn't fully realized. So wasting a single grain of rice isn't just about throwing out food. It's like you're disrespecting the farmer, the sun, the rain that grew it. It's the felt weight of that weight.
Now, if you want to see the polar opposite of mottainai, just look at this number. America has a $38 billion self-storage industry. I mean, think about that for a second. We buy so much stuff that we've run out of room for it in our homes, so we then pay more money every single month just to store it somewhere else. It is literally a monument to things we don't use.
Okay, the second big idea is hara hachibu. This literally means eat until you're 80% full. It's a famous saying from Okinawa, which is one of the world's blue zones, where people live incredibly long, healthy lives. The whole idea is to deliberately stop before you're stuffed, to always leave a little bit of room. And it turns out, this one little habit has all these amazing health benefits. So how does that 80% full idea apply to your money? Well, it's a super simple but really profound switch in how you do things. The typical American way is you earn money, you spend money, and then you try to save whatever's left over, if there's anything left. The Japanese way, inspired by that 80% rule, just flips it. You earn money, you immediately save a chunk of it, let's say 20%, first, and then you learn to live and spend on what remains. It's the same amount of income, but it leads to a completely different result. Okay, so with that whole philosophy as our foundation, now we can finally talk about the tool. Back in 1904, a woman named Hani Motoko, who was Japan's first female newspaper reporter, by the way, created this household accounting system. She called it the Kakebo, and she designed it specifically to empower women who were usually in charge of the household budgets but didn't really have a framework to take control.
And the system itself is it's beautifully simple. Every time you buy something, you write it down by hand into one of 4 categories. First, you've got your needs, rent, food, the essentials. Then you've got your wants, hobbies, going out to eat, new clothes. Now this next one is really interesting, culture. This is for things like books, concerts, maybe taking a course. And finally, you have unexpected, for things like car repairs or a medical bill. But did you catch that difference between wants and culture? A $60 dinner is a want, it's consumption. But a $60 cookbook, that's culture. That's an investment in yourself.
But you're probably wondering, why does an old-school notebook actually work when a slick app doesn't? The answer, believe it or not, is neuroscience. Studies using brain scanners have found that when you write things by hand, it lights up all these complex parts of your brain tied to memory and learning. Typing on a phone
Your brain just goes into what they call transcription mode. So when you physically write down, spent $43 on takeout because I was too tired to cook, your brain processes that information and that feeling in a way that just tapping on a screen never ever will.
And this is really where the magic happens. Western budgeting is basically a math problem, right? Income minus expenses equals something. The Kakebo's reflection at the end of the month is totally different. It asks you questions like, what went well? What didn't go so well? And what am I going to change next month? It's less like doing your taxes and more like a therapy session for your spending. And writing down those answers is what actually creates real change, because we're driven by feelings, not just data points.
So what this all boils down to is that it's not about trying to have more willpower. It's not about being more disciplined. It's about consciously building a better system for yourself. That huge gap between saving 4% and saving 37%, that's not a willpower gap, it's a systems gap. It's all about the defaults you live by.
There's this one last Zen principle I want to share with you. It's inscribed in a famous temple in Kyoto, Taru Oshiru. It means know what is enough. It's about building the internal capacity to recognize when you truly have enough, instead of always chasing some finish line that our consumer culture is constantly moving further and further away. It's the perfect antidote to a world that's basically designed to make you feel like you're always lacking something. So what does this all look like in practice? Here are 3 simple defaults you can start today. First, the day you get paid, move 20% of your income somewhere you won't easily touch it. Pay yourself first. Second, just for 1 month, get a cheap notebook and physically write down every single thing you buy. And third, before you buy anything that's not an essential, just pause and ask yourself one quick question. Is this a genuine need, a genuine want, or am I just bored? At the end of the day, the app on your phone is going to keep tracking your spending, it's going to keep making those pretty charts, but for most of us, that just hasn't worked. The notebook is waiting, and it leaves you with one last really powerful question to think about. Is the money you spend actually building the life you truly want, or is it just filling the